Guys, I finally realized I can set up the camera and push the button. I don't have to sidestep around the table. Um, I'm a little slow in some regards. So, hello. Um, Feeling good today. It's sort of overcast and everything's greening up, that new green that's sort of just like no other color. When the leaves really get that kind of they're lit from within somehow. It's lovely. Couple of things. I was thinking about just the whole issue of communication, which a lot of relationships for me are troubling around the issue of communication. But I realize there are the people I really trust, I can be out of touch with, it just doesn't really matter because it's like on some level we're already connected to the degree that, we can still take joy in each other's stories and in the back and forth, and there's always something to learn. But the ones that make me uptight are the ones in which I feel like I'm sort of the open book. And maybe to a fault. I mean, I remember once being asked by somebody, what are you up to these days? It was at a family reunion of a friend of mine. And I knew the guy who was asking the question. He was the brother, liked him very much, and he was sincerely sort of trying to solicit a response. And I just said, what am I doing? I'm trying to get through the day. And this, instead of being sort of like, feeling like I was putting him off or asking him to step back from, he just looked delighted. He just looked purely delighted. And he said, like, me too. Me too. So sometimes that kind of succinct, honest response, I think, is worth, hours of blah, 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 where you're never really getting, because there's a ring of truth. And I like banter. I like, making flirt, as one of the other tarot readers says. In general, just a lighthearted exchange, yeah. But when it becomes, when you're looking for something real and what you're getting back are emojis, and there's somebody I emoji with all the time, and it's delightful. But there are certain people I want something real from them, and they just don't seem to be able or willing or whatever to say it. And, I'm just trying to learn how to step back from that, not take it personally necessarily, and try to lean into the possibility that this is somebody I know well enough, I'm connected to on that deep sort of major arcana level, that we don't need to give a blow by blow. I just wanted to touch on, speaking of major arcana, and well, I may not be able to even go there, but in the stories that are archetypal, it sort of means, my understanding is, it's when you look cross-culturally and through time there are stories that describe our common journey as human beings, as mortals. You know, and as a group that transcends just our personal experience. These stories, which like have a vocabulary cross-culturally. I mean, here's a sort of one example that occurred to me, like in the Christian mythos story archetype, we go through a ritual where we consume the divine, body and blood of Christ in communion. And I had a friend who I think was in a Catholic school, and as a prank, she and her little friend broke into the, that little room off the altar place. I can't remember what it's called, where they keep the candles and the host and, all the kind of accoutrement of the ritual. And they ate the host, which is a challenge too, because they're, at least the ones I've had, are kind of pasty but there's, it goes further, because unconsecrated hosts that haven't been blessed by the minister or priest, and through that ritual made more than a cracker, more than a kind of hard to chew bit of something. They become transubstantiated. Their substance has been transformed through the intention of both the person administering the communion and the people taking the communion. There's this understanding. Well, that eating the divine, you can find that story repeated and repeated and repeated throughout cultures that have existed in isolation from each other, because all of us draw on this collective unconscious, this kind of dream vocabulary, this symbolic language that appears in our dreams and in our best stories and myths. So it's a deep well of the deep language. Talk about communication. That's a whole different strata. But when it's not anyways, enough said. I flipped the deck after I shuffled it initially, and for some reason I just looked at the bottom card. It was Tower. Scorpionic energy of not only transformation, but radical change. Radical change from the ground up. Can be epiphany. I get the feeling that's what we're going to see. But let's see what we see. You guys, what's in store? I rest my case. Oh my God. Okay. What popped out? Tower, again. I mean, that's just the affirmation. That's, like we're on the right track. And it, it's epiphany and it's liberation. It's out of the constraining place that you don't fit anymore. Out of the constraining place, fast and passionately and on fire to follow your intuitive sense of where you belong. Because it's not here. It's not in the Tower place. Moving forward fast in 3D from that. And it seems to me this is the engine, that intuition, which wands represent. I mean, this is a card of Pisces and maybe Cancer too. It's a card of knowing and not necessarily talking about it. But to me, Tower is a card of knowing too, because you're busting out of some old mindset and being led toward, it's sort of like into the mystery, which you now maybe have had an epiphany about. And the bottom of the deck now is Hierophant. It could be the blowing up of traditional belief systems in a dramatic, sudden way. You're liberated. And it's the universe liberating you from this constraint. I described it, I think, as it was Eight of Swords, but it's like a monumental corset. It's tight. It doesn't fit you, and it's like you're liberating. You're blowing out. You're making tracks. And I think it's the traditional belief system is like transformed into this intuitive. I mean, Hierophant would talk about it. It is a card of higher power, and so's this. But there's a transformation. There's a tower around belief. And this is a not talking card. I started out with this idea of communication, and Hierophant is not about trying to talk about the things she understands intuitively. It's like she gives people room, it seems to me, to come to the mystery in their own time, of their own accord. Tell us about Tower. One really, okay. This one wanted to come out too. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay, first card out. Eight of Cups. Walk in the path. A spiritual path. A path of knowing. Knowing where to go on the basis of what you truly love. And you're kind of Knight of Wandsing it with passion. But this is slowing it down a bit to explore the feelings. But it's a path that will lead to the portal, the big change, right under Tower. Well, actually, Eight of Cups is under Tower, but the World card, last card in the Major Arcana, is under this fast-moving, passionate, inspired, and inspirational messenger. It's like an invitation to walk the path, which will lead to this expansive change. Five of Pentacles. I think there's something about having been stripped down. Because Five of Pentacles is ordinarily a card of loss. Well, let's see. Let's get another. I'm getting a weird positive vibe off this Five of Pentacles. Being stripped down to the essential thing. Tell me about this Five of Pentacles. Okay. Wow. Wow. Queen of Pentacles. Not deprived of any resource. You know, she is a principle of abundance. Earth sign. What's real, what's tangible. She's a caretaker. She's a nurturer. On Five of Pentacles. So some kind of period of being stripped down, you've been able to restore for yourself. And the next card that came out was Ten of Cups. You know, joy. Joy to the world. A new era, world card, of fulfillment and happiness and sharing connection with the group. Okay. We've got Knight of Cups over here, incoming. So a messenger, I think, who has walked the path toward this Queen of Pentacles person, wanting 10 of Cups, and is making the offer. There's been a choice, a decision between two things of value, but it's kind of holding up a bit to consider and weigh it up, the ramifications of this. On 8 of Cups. But it is a choice to walk the path, which means leaving something behind. You know, you're leaving behind the constraint, and you're wrapping up a cycle and heading into a new thing. You're walking sort of toward a higher love. 8 of Cups to 10 of Cups. On the path. So, again, let's see more about the Tower, please. Okay. All right. Well, the Tower had something to do with this high level of stress. You know, because the epiphany that blasts you out of your comfort zone is uncomfortable, particularly to your brain that's trying to wrap itself around the epiphany. And there's fear, there's apprehension, there's, oh my God, what is this? And the two other cards that came out on Tower, Magician, the manifestation. Like somehow, Tower comes in from the universe, but you're like a co-creator in this. You've manifested this liberation. And it makes you a bit nervous. And this landed this way. I don't read for reversals, but I think it's sort of significant, because the card on the bottom of the deck is healing. 4 of Swords, 3 of Swords. On the path, 8 of Cups, on the path, healing the heart. You're manifesting a healing of well, I'm getting the feeling of a relationship. Let's see what these are. This would be clarifying. Hierophant. Yeah, it's that restrictive belief system. Eight of Swords, Two of Swords. Combined, Ten of Swords, the end of that cycle. Because Tower has come along and blown the corset off. Remember I said Tower is a little bit like Eight of Swords? There was a crossroads. Another kind of weighing up and a kind of an impasse that had to do with a restrictive belief system. And somehow a blind decision. Two of Swords, she's blindfolded. Eight of Swords, she's blindfolded. He, she, they. Could be an air sign. We have on the table Pisces, Cancer, Gemini, Virgo, Scorpio, all the fixed signs. And I think about Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. I did that the other day. I held up a card and I said Gemini, and there was no Gemini anywhere about. This is an earth sign. Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. Hierophant is Taurus, Hierophant. But whereas that, as it's expressing, given its modifiers, Eight of Swords, Two of Swords, as the restrictive thing, you know, being able to kind of reclaim your own power, High Priestess, your intuitive knowledge of who you are, well, that's this. Whatever the lack was, you've shored yourself up. Your authenticity. Okay. Emperor. Somebody wants to take the reins of this Ten of Cups situation. Could be an Aries. Divine masculine doesn't mean it's a man. Could be this Queen of Pentacles person. But they're aiming for taking control to drive this forward to Ten of Cups. They're on that path. Aretha Franklin, on the highway of love in a pink Cadillac. On the freeway of love. On the freeway. So we're having a little Joni Mitchell, Aretha crossover there. One on World, please. The new era. The portal. The entry point. Queen of Wands. Into the intuitive High Priestess energy of attraction. I think you're attracting in somebody who's on the path, who's made a choice to walk the path. And, you know, gallopy, coming in with a passionate proposal. In the same energy, fire as Emperor. Also a fire sign. Okay, a little bit with the tiny Rider-Waite deck. Why? What do we need to... They're saying more on Eight of Swords, Two of Swords, the end of the bad cycle because you're liberated somehow, or somebody is from the impasse. What more can you, like, who's liberated from the impasse? Okay. Queen of Swords. The energy of discernment, of being able to cut through anything that's not true. Low tolerance for what's not true. And it's a knowledge she gets inside herself. It's not and we talked all about communication. This is a straight shooter. And it's on this, I'm trapped, I can't communicate, I'm blocked. She would cut right through that with her sword. And sometimes it can be a harsh truth, but she believes in her own sense of what's right and real. And she walks it and she talks it. He, she, they. Air sign. Probably. So if there's something in this traditional approach that she thinks is bullshit, and she has the detector to say, oh, no. No more of that. We're going to communicate in a real way. We're going to tell each other the truth. One on High Priestess, please. Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, we're getting repeats. A lot of repeats. Queen of Wands, the intuitive energy. The one who can read the vibes. Your vibes, my vibes, the vibes. Eight of Swords again. It's not about a cerebral constraint. It's about operating off your intuition. And this can be a card of options, or of confusion, or of having to choose and not being able to. We had already the 8, the walk in the path. Well, Queen of Wands isn't inclined to be confused or stuck in her head. Star. Aquarian energy. A card of a great ability to take the overview perspective. Like this Queen of Swords, it's a kind of clarity, but this is a major arcana clarity. This is following your guidance to the place. Knowing what you know, both, in your higher mind and in your innermost, the place that resonates with truth. High Priestess, the place that sees it. And this was all on High Priestess. And this could be considered the minor arcana expression of High Priestess. Because Queen of Wands would be able to read the energies, but she's not going to be all about schooling you about what she intuits. She's not going to chase you down and tell you what it is you ought to do or who you are, or, she can see right through it. If there's a facade, she can see right through it. But she would be a match to Emperor, that fire energy. Capricorn. That was just, they said, cut the deck. There you go. I mean, one thing I think is interesting about this is that, okay, we got Six of Wands, success in that fire energy of victory. It's like something you have to show for the Five of Wands struggle you've been through. And I think what's interesting about this is it's almost like root chakra, devil, grounded, super grounded energy, maybe even to the point of something that holds you back. But it's almost like from the root to the crown chakra, from an undeniable authenticity in earth energy that accepts shadow, that has a higher enough perspective that it includes shadow, things that are as yet unacknowledged. But there's a kind of, there's a perspective, an ability to rise above and understand it. Maybe what's held you back, Eight of Swords. But I think these are complementary energies, you know, to have a high enough perspective to know what you're attached to in a way that perhaps you need to liberate yourself from. Tower, Eight of Swords. And Capricorn is an energy of knowing yourself, kind of from the ground up. Being clear and healing shadow. Doing the shadow work, Capricorn, the work of healing and of seeing things clearly. So out of the confusion and out of what held you back, perhaps a belief system that held you back, that like maybe played on your fears, because that's another meaning of devil. You know, you consign it to the shadow because it scares you. Healed. An acceptance of yourself. A precondition for healing, for being able to communicate, see things clearly. And I like it, this Queen of Swords prominently on the deck is about clear communication, setting boundaries if you need to, busting through, you know, cutting through them. If it's a constraining thing, Eight of Swords, not anymore. There's going to be some real talk, healing, real talk, healing the ability to communicate. Three of Swords, Four of Swords, on the path to manifesting. All the tools you need, I think, to sort of absorb the epiphany. And it will heal you and set you free in ways that you haven't even conceived of yet. But that are things you can believe in. Capricorn, Aquarius, Aries, Virgo, Gemini, Pisces, Cancer, Taurus. That's about it. And all the fixed signs. No, that's it. It's been delightful to touch base with you guys today. It really, it's funny. I'll get to the part where I'm doing the smudge into the 4 directions, and I do this. I break out in this smile. It's like, I don't know. It just makes me happy. It gets me aligned. One thing I wanted to mention is, I would encourage you to both comment and read each other's comments, because they're very open, they're very honest, they're very moving. And I think there's something about the communication thing along those lines. You know, we're getting to know each other, and I think it's important, when you're ready, to chime in a Queen of Swords kind of way, authentically, from your own personal sense of what's real and true. So there is that. And likewise, like it, share it if you think anybody else would benefit from this. You can share it with them. And subscribe, please. We're inching up. And it's been like, with subscribers, gained 3, lose 2. You know, lose 3, gain 4. It's just been going like this. And I think we're on an uptick. And that's really good to see. Because the more the merrier, right? This is a good group. We're a good group. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the ones who have already subscribed, the ones who are gonna subscribe, and the ones who haven't yet. You know, I went months, if not years, before I actually figured out what that meant. It's free. It just supports the channel. You know, so if you want to just kick in a support without kicking in any, dough or finance, it's not even like leaving me a tip. It's like, I don't know, whatever. So please subscribe, like, share. Let's grow this channel. It's a good one. We're a good group. Love you guys. Till next time.